Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy Friday, September 12th to you and yours. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe as well. I got the Lightning polo today because it felt comfortable, and I wanted to bring some good Team Tampa Bay vibes to all of our teams this weekend. Plenty to get to today on the program. And again, I just want to reiterate kind of some of the things we've been talking about the last couple of days of let's make sure that we're being good to each other, and let's make sure that with all the craziness in the world that we take time out of our day to try to do good things and to spread good vibes. And I don't care what happened in the past. I don't care if you have an estranged friend or family member from anywhere from Tupelo, Mississippi to Sacramento, California to Clayton, North Carolina to Seattle, Washington to Fargo in the Dakotas. Make sure you go that extra mile to make sure that you tell those people that you love them, you miss them, and life's too short, man. It really is. Plenty to get into on the program today, doing some updates from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also, the 0-1 teams that will win in week 2, the 1-0 teams that are going to lose in week 2. I'm also going to discuss what to watch and a lot of things going on, including the big match between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Bud Crawford. And then finally, Trevor Sikkema is going to join us from Pro Football Focus. We're only going to about 1:15 today. I got to skedaddle out of here and get a haircut. Because we got a long weekend ahead. I'll be coaching out in Inverness Saturday and Sunday on my phone. And then Monday, make sure you head on over to the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard, and come watch the game with us there at the Dignitary Cafe. Remember, no drinking, kava and kratom. Get you a water or some orange soda. Just come chill out with us there. Guys, every single like helps so much, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, /X. Kill that like button for me right now. Boom, 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 if you can. The subscriptions, now we're up to almost 1,800 subscribers on YouTube. Slow and steady, buddy. Slow and steady. We're trying to get to 2,000. Hopefully we can do that. And make sure you always follow our friends right here at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. We have a new sponsor that is going to be joining us very, very soon. I'm very happy about that. Super excited to announce our next sponsor that is going to join up as well with Honest Hammer and be our second sponsor here on the Recher podcast. I love it. So freaking excited. Let's get to some of these. Oh, David Terry. Again, you want to keep this show going. Super chats is one way to do it. David Terry with $10 super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. I cannot thank you enough. And also, if you want to sponsor the show, let me know. We're going to have our memberships up soon. Where's my guy, Jeff Taylor, at? I had the meeting with the Recher podcast, T-shirts, hoodies, hats, stickers, all that stuff is going to be out. The Recher podcast. You're not going to want to miss that. I went to the place yesterday. They should be out next week at some point. Make sure you check me out on all social media platforms, and let's get as much merch out there as humanly possible. I got some badass merch coming. You guys are going to love it. Go Bulls, David Terry says. Win me some money. Took the points. Freaking Benny second again. Yeah, that's the way it goes. What's up, Dolan? Everybody out there. Nathan Elliott. How about Greg DeCruz out there as well? Monday's headlines: Bulls track Hurricanes, Canelo KOs Crawford, Bull J86. Let's go. Horns up, go Bulls. Dolan, what's up, Jay and everyone? Greg's going with Crawford on this one. Hello to all the Recher watching teams from Nathan. Robert, Packers did look tough last night, Dolan, didn't they? USF over UM. Robert Carkin lets everybody know. DT, 8 days to preseason hockey. Cannot wait. Riveters, I know, is an awesome party. You got that right, buddy. everyone's favorite OKC guy sending love back home to Tampa. We appreciate you, my friend. We appreciate you very much. Lady Evil, no beer at Dignitary Cafe. Yeah, no beers there. That is a alcohol-free zone. I totally get it. If you're a person that wants to indulge in a little bit of the libations, hey, more power to you. But the one thing for the Dignitary Cafe there with all of our friends with the Kava and the Kratom, a lot of those people are, coming off of, being addicted to alcohol, drugs. Man, it's just a really, really good environment. Not all of them, but just like certain people out there, which I think is awesome. So if you want to come enjoy some libation free, even just for a little while, just come for the half. I'll be out there with my good buddy Ian Beckles over there after practice. I'm not going home. I'm practicing at 6 to 7:30 and the game's at 8. So yeah, I'm not going to go home and shower. I'm going right there to Ian. So if you want to see me in my baseball clothes, come on over 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. All right, let's get into some of the news from today. Not great, folks. So looking at some of the things that we saw today, and this is according to everybody that was there at practice at about 11 o'clock is when they opened things up. I wish they were a little bit earlier, man. If it was 9, 9:30, 10, I'd be able to go, but it's just so close, man. It's tough. So according to Recher of the Tampa Bay Times, not a good sign for the Buccaneers' makeshift offensive line. Right tackle Luke Gedeke not practicing Anthony. Charlie Heck could get the start at right tackle. That would mean only Cody Mauch would be in his original position in the O-line Monday night. Still several days to go. Watch what happens this weekend, because that's going to be the big thing. Because of the Buccaneers playing on Monday, the schedule's a little bit wonky. So now you have practice tomorrow, right, where there's limited photo and video opportunity, and then Tabo speaks at 12:10 tomorrow. So we'll see. No media availability on Sunday. The game's Monday night in Houston. But to be fair, like if Luke Gedeke practices tomorrow, I'm going to feel a lot better about this team and their chances to win that game in Houston. There's something about that place. It's something about playing at night. And as much as I would love to just say, oh, yeah, all right, Buccaneers win, no matter what. I'm just going to – right now, if I'm a betting man, I'm putting money on Houston. Just because I cannot go against what the basis is with everything when I'm talking about how I judge these teams, and it starts in the trenches. I mean, hell, when you do a show with Ian Beckles, and he's got a podcast called In the Trenches, it's hard to just ignore that fact. Now, doesn't mean I still think the Buccaneers are going to win the division. I still think they're going to make a long postseason run. I just feel like at this time, with no Godwin, Josh Grizzard game 2, no Jalen McMillan, no Tristan Wirfs, possibly no Luke Gedeke. I think this is going to be a tough putt for the Buccaneers on Monday night. If they win this game Monday night, the Buccaneers are the real deal. They are the real deal. No doubt about it. If you think that the Bucs are a championship caliber team, these are the games you have to win, right? You go and win a game on the road when you don't have your best guys, when you have a makeshift offensive line. That shows that you can be versatile enough and that resilient enough to be able to take it down to the end. I mean, we saw it a couple of years ago. They took it down to the end and lost. No moral victories. We're at that point with the Buccaneers like we were with Alex Gold and USF. There's no silver linings for the Buccaneers. There's no moral victories. This is a team that has lofty aspirations. With Atlanta facing Minnesota, that's the only team I'm worried about in the division. And I'm really, really high on Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. Sunday Night Football. Man, you could be waking up Monday morning if you're Baker and the Bucs going, man, if we take care of business, we'll be 2-0. And our biggest rival at the time is Atlanta because of how talented they are. They're 0-2. Man, that is a really, really great step going forward. If they win this game against Houston, I mean, the Buccaneers could have the division locked up in November. I really believe that. Somebody said that yesterday. I think Buffalo will have the division locked up by the end of November. If the Buccaneers can win this game and Atlanta loses, they're on their way. Because then you got the Jets in week 3. We know what the challenge that the Eagles pose in game 4, but they've had success against those guys. And plus, around week 3, 4, 5, 6, now you're getting healthier. You're getting Godwin back. You're getting Tristan Wirfs back. But this to me feels like that game. If they're going to lose over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think this is the game they lose. You get the Jets at home. You get Philly at home. There's something about these primetime games that just is a pain in the ass for Baker and the Buccaneers, and I really hope that they learn how to get over that and get through that. But we haven't seen it, and until they prove that they can, we're supposed to. From our guy Greg Allman, again, no Luke Gedeke at practice today. Greg Gaines practiced after missing on Thursday. Tristan Wirfs out there again. Chris Godwin not, as they slowly work his way back. Zion McCollum limited with a neck and shoulder injury. He left. Remember, he went into the blue medical tent in week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons. But here's another good sign. Benjamin Morrison, good to go for Monday. Practiced in full this week. And according to the Buccaneers, it says probably only in line for special teams work, but that's fine. Ease him in. Think about how many other teams out there they're relying on every single one of those guys to contribute right away. It's not like that. I mean, yeah, Mecca was fantastic in week 1, but we know as the time goes on, if he does hit a little bit of a rookie wall, they'll be fine. They'll be in good shape. I look at some of these draft classes. I was doing more research on the 2 teams that I think are 2 of the worst in the NFL with the Miami Dolphins and the New York Giants. And you look at the Giants draft classes in 2001 and 2021 and 2023, and 4 of the guys got cut. 2 of them are out of football together. And then you're looking at Jason Light, and you're like, that guy's on the team, that guy's on the team, that guy's on the team. And even this year, and I hate the bullshit excuse of oh, well, they always draft at the end of the first round. All right, well, doesn't mean you can't get good players. Doesn't mean you can't get guys that you're going to – you need to do a better job of figuring out who's going to contribute to this team. Sometimes that's no man's land where they're at. It doesn't matter. Just draft good players. And maybe you trade a guy or 2, right? You trade it and trade up or trade back, but identify the type of people. And now we're getting into the groove now with the Buccaneers where you know what type of player a Buccaneer is. That used to be a bad thing. It used to be a bad thing, but that guy's a buck. Now it's not so bad, is it? We say that about Ravens, right? That guy's a Ravens type player. Yeah, then then he kicks ass like Kyle Hamilton, right? When Kyle Hamilton went from Notre Dame to Baltimore, I was like, shit, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. Greg DeCruz, where can we watch Ian's high school team playing tonight? I do not know who Chamberlain plays tonight. Robert Cochran there in OKC. Bucks starting 2-0 and USF starting 3-0. Book it. It's hard to go against our guy, Robert Cochran. He has been all about it. 29-17, our guy Louis from the Frozen Pirate Pod. Robert says 38-21 USF. They dominate the trenches. Greg says, my biggest concern is keeping Baker healthy. It's a marathon, and AFC loss is not a big deal. I'm with you. Bart Hill, what's up, Jay Bird? What's going on, pal? Lady Evil, I have a feeling Tristan will be in the line up for much doing funky stuff like that this year. Could be. I just don't see Tristan coming back this week. It's not a full week of practice. You have some time. Let him go that entire week next week when they come back home against the Jets, and then boom, he's ready. Already getting his feet wet for that pretty damn good defensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. Lady Evil, I saw that you're playing at what are you playing in Madeira Beach? I think I saw that on Facebook, buddy. So Lady Evil, let everybody know. I think Lady Evil's badass, playing some badass music. Let us know where you are playing this weekend, and I'll do my best to put that money out there. Any word on Oliver's injury? Who's Oliver? Bjorkstrand, are you talking about? Worse than Godwin practicing again today. Christopher Cole, no. Chris Godwin not practicing today. Tristan Wirfs was, but again, not with the offensive line group like we've seen. So it's just there's no need to rush him back. Like somebody said before, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You want to be healthy as the year goes on. With this team, I trust. That's another thing, guys. Again, we go back to it. Okay, here we go. Daiquiri Shack, Madeira Beach tonight, 8 to 12. Go check the guys out. Should be a fun time. ET, I'll get you a question in a second. When we were in the offseason, and everybody and their mother outside of the people here on the podcast were talking about get rid of Todd Bowles, keep Liam Cohen. Another thing that Liam Cohen has absolutely no idea another thing he doesn't have any idea how to handle is what to do with injured players, what to do with veteran players, not rushing guys back. You can say that you trust your medical staff all you want, but it starts and ends with the head coach. He's the guy that makes the final decision. So for a guy like, and that's for everything. That's not just injuries. That's not for personnel discussions. And Todd Bowles has had that experience time and time and time again. And Liam Cohen is not. He's not. It's not hating. It's just a fact. And when you're a team that's looking to win it all, you can't have decisions like that screwing it up. If you have a young head coach who has no idea what's going on, he's like, yeah, bring him in, trust the medical. Yeah, just bring him in. We'll play him. And you bring a guy back too soon and he's out for the entire year. Like, that's not good. That's not worth it. Got to be smart with things like that. Got to be smart. I wanted to answer this question before I get to USF stuff. Talking about Oliver Bjorkstrand, all signs point to him being 100% for the season. We have media day next week. Let me give you guys this info real quick because I'm going to it starts at 9 a.m. Excuse me, 9 a.m. Why was that so difficult for me? 9 a.m. It was also 9 a.m. Tampa Bay Lightning annual media day, September 17th. So it is a week from this past Wednesday, and it starts at 9 a.m. Why can't I say 9 a.m.? 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Oh, my God. How Southern have I become? What the hell, man? 9 a.m. Based on what it's going to look like, I might do my show from Emily that day. I might also can't even speak right now. 9 a.m. I might do the show from here. I might move the show back to 1 o'clock. Wednesdays are usually a pretty busy day for me because I got the Beckles and Recher podcast and I have my practices. I got a lot of stuff to do on Wednesdays. But just to be safe, maybe I move it back. I'm making myself laugh. 1 a.m. Maybe I move it to 1 p.m. The Bolts look to be fully healthy going into the season, so very exciting there. I thought Luke was walking around in flip-flops and no limp yesterday. I know you saw that from Joe Bucks fan, David. Yeah, that's right. But you just never know, right? You never know what goes into that type of thing. Some people don't have, like, I always have a little bit of a hitch in my giddy up when I walk. There's always like something. Jameis is like that too. Mike Evans is like that too. Or just there's always like a something's bothering you, right? Excuse me. Luke Edekes, posture looked good. Gait looked good. We'll see if he'll be ready. Eric Moreno, our pal, you think Gedeke plays Monday similar to Vita last week? Could be, but we saw Vita getting healthier as the week went on. So that was something that really affected them early, but not much later than that. All right, let's talk some USF here. Wow. I mean, it's just so cool to know that the Bulls are dominating the sports world when it comes to just the media and the interviews. Like, I've seen so many interviews this week with Nico Grammatica and Mac Harris and Jalen Schuler joined us on the show and Alex Golish, like all these different articles everywhere, man. It's just so great to go with Rob Higgins being the new CEO of athletics for USF. And Rob will join us here in the next couple of weeks when everything slows down. It's a lot of points, 17.5. Go get the points, man. Go get the points. Why the hell not? If you're going to be a straight money line guy and think you're going to win, they're going to win straight up, like my buddy Patrick did last week, put a cool $500 on it. Good for you. But the line in this game is wild to me for a team that has already beaten 2 top 25 teams. No type of disrespect or all types of disrespect for the Bulls when it comes to what Vegas is saying what this game is going to look like. And Nathan, this is a great point. I'm hoping the Bulls do not read and get lost in the press clippings and hype. If you guys watched the interview with Jalen Schuler earlier this week and you listen to head coach Alex Golish, this has been the same message all year long. Process over outcome. Control what you can control. Even going back to like January, they're talking about making sure that you do the right things every single day. And you hear it's not just lip service. Like, you're just watching these guys. They're excited about these victories, but it's very workmanlike. It's very, hey, we got to make sure that we're doing our thing every single day. We're not getting too high. We're not getting too low. And you notice the even keel mentality that successful teams have. We say it about Todd Bowles. Say it about Kevin Cash. Say it about John Cooper. Same thing with USF. And I think, a guy like Alex Golesh usually is pretty fiery. And you saw it after the win against Florida. But I think when you lead up to the game, you're talking about preparation, you can't skip any steps. You have to make sure you're playing this game like it's your 0-0, a new game altogether. And I look at this team and I see a team that's way different than what we saw last year. You saw a team that was barely hanging on for a quarter, a half, 3 quarters. They made too many mistakes. There wasn't a lot of leadership. Obviously, dealt with some injuries. But this is just a new ball game, man. This is a new beast. Now, does it mean they're necessarily going to beat Miami? No, but they're not going to go out with a whimper. That's for sure. This is a team that's going to leave everything out there. And you keep going back to the famous saying that's going to live with us forever with Bulls Nation is that this ain't the same old South Florida, my brother. The quote from our pal, the late, great Amir Abdur-Rahim. And if you read any article or listen to any interview, just watch how many times that they bring up that statement. This ain't the same old South Florida, my brother. That was at practice before the season even started with Amir. Think about that. That wasn't after winning the conference, right? It was in practice. And it went viral. And it's wild to know that what somebody says or what somebody does, even though Amir is not with us anymore, his words reverberate through everybody here in the Tampa Bay area that is a part of Bulls Nation. He breathes those words through people like Alex Golesh, people like Michael Kelly, people like Brandon Stroud and Jaden Reed, some of those players on those USF teams. Like, that's impact. That's impact. It's not a mistake. It's not a mistake at all. And I'm just glad that we're able to witness it. I want them to just be in there. Give them a puncher's chance. And I think they do. They have more than a puncher's chance. You're talking about the number 18 team in the country. This isn't there ain't no slapdick prospects out there, right? This is a team that is ready to roll. And when you have Byram, I think you could have the better quarterback. Carson Beck is one of those guys where he catches some heat, right? We know about all his off the field stuff. We know about the transfer from Georgia to Miami, but listen, I mean, the guy's got some skills. He doesn't suck, even though you may not like him. With that being said, can he get rattled? Yeah. We've seen Byron Brown in that maturation, especially these last couple of weeks. One of the big things that's really stood out to me, especially in the game, not so much against Boise, but in the game against Florida. And this is why it's so weird when you look at numbers like, oh, he did this or he didn't do this. Listen, sometimes the best thing to do to help you win games is to just hang around. Hang around and be in the fight and then make the winning plays at the end. We saw it with J.J. McCarthy. And I think this is one of those things where you look at Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'd rather have a guy like that. Yeah, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen they do all these fantastic things. They put up all these great numbers, but we've seen at times, that they make mistakes in the big moments. And now they haven't been able to reach the Super Bowl. I look at Pat Mahomes, he's always making those big plays. And I think Byron Brown does some of those similar things. Tom Brady just put out a video, and if you haven't seen it, Tom Brady sits down with Joel Klatt. I don't know if it's something that they do every week, but he spoke about having faith in quarterbacks and looking at a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes and saying, he's the only guy that I look at as a guy that's like ready to win, and he's just like he's a champion. And he said something to the effect of, what are you doing in the offseason? What do you do in the offseason to get your defense ready? What do you do as far as talking to the personnel department to bring more people in? What do you do as far as being a part of game planning? Because it's not just about going out there and getting your points and your yards and stats and all that. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. What are you doing to help your team win? And we mentioned this, or we had this conversation with Jalen Schuler the other day, that when Byron Brown runs somebody over, that gives everybody just a little bit of an extra boost. Everybody sits a little bit taller. That's impact. Byron Brown could be the best player on the field on Saturday. He's going to need to be. They're going to have to make some big plays. I think you keep an eye on, and we had this conversation with Colin Sherwin yesterday from the Bay Area Examiner, of what Singleton brings to the table as an offensive threat, what Alvin Isaac brings to the table as an offensive threat. But Chaz Nimrod on those deep throws, that's his game, taking the top off the defense, the old Deshaun Jackson discussion that we had when he was here with the Buccaneers. Can Chaz Nimrod be that guy to get behind the defenders? Can you use that aggression against the Miami Hurricanes? And maybe some double reverses, maybe some counters, some draw plays. They're going to have to hit some plays in the passing game. It can't just be run, Byron, run. The trenches are different in Miami than the last two teams you played. Doesn't mean you can't win that battle, but it's going to be tougher. So if you're Byron Brown, that you're going to be able to run over guys all the time, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm excited for the challenge. And a guy like Alex Golesh is going to have his guys ready. That's one of my favorite parts about this team, is you have complete faith that the coaching staff is going to put these guys in a position to succeed. I don't know if we've been able to say that many times in the last 10, 15 years when it comes to our USF guys. Sure. Boom. Our guy Trevor Sikkema is going to join us right now. Let's do it, baby. He just texted me. Got it going. We'll get him on the program. Hold on. Let me see. Schedule this post. Trevor Sikkema. Boom, boom, boom. 12. There you go. Come on. All right, Trevor's going to join us here in a couple minutes. Get him on the program. My guy from Pro Football Focus. You want to talk about a guy that's gone up through the ranks and has just been absolutely incredible covering football. And I love the way that he covers the game, right? I want to ask him, too, about the whole discussion and discourse of the stuff with Peter Schrager and also with like Ryan Clark, because he's a guy that, Trevor didn't play, but he's still one of the most respected guys in Pro Football Focus. And in the entire game, on with Dan Patrick, like that's a big deal, man. It really is. Big deal. Nothing but respect for our guy. I'm so glad to be able to see Trevor and what he's been able to do coming up through the ranks for Pewter Report. And now look at him, and he is all over the place. Buccaneers predictions, get them in there, put them at the bottom of the screen. Questions, comments, concerns right there. Who do you think is going to come out on top? You give me a Bulls prediction. You give me a Bucks prediction. Bulls, Miami hasn't been tested by a mobile QB. We'll see. Byron's different. He is built like a brick shithouse. That guy, man, he is a monster. A monster, as Booker T would say. A monster. Yeah, I mean, for the Bulls to win this game, Byron Brown has to be the best player on the field. He's got to not only outshine Carson Beck, but it's got to be clear. It's got to be clear. It can't be like, oh, yeah, this is different. This is completely different. This is not, all right, you're going to kind of hang around. You got to make more plays this week against Miami than you did against Florida. Nature of the beast. 24-21, Nathan says, Bucks over Texans on Monday night. Adam Cartwright, 23-20 Bulls. Greg DeCruz, 28-14. USF over Miami. David Terry likes a low-scoring game in this one, 17-14. 14. I mean, listen, you can't really go wrong. If you're talking about the Bucks, we'll take any type of victory, regardless of the score. Ronnie D, not that Ronnie D, a different Ronnie D. Miami fans completely disrespecting USF. The Bulls will show everyone on Saturday. Dolan's got a Bucks 27-24. Yeah, take your time. You're good, buddy. Dolan 27-24. Greg DeCruz 24-20. And close games. Close games. The Bucks got to win the battle in the trenches. And they have to be able to hold up against that vaunted pass rush of Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. Bulls 20-18, Dolan says. I'll feel much better about the Buccaneers for Monday night if we get word tomorrow that Luke Gedeke will be in there. If not, I'm telling you, man, I think that's the difference in the game. Sometimes it is one player. And that offensive line, you just hold down the fort. Hold down the fort and do whatever the hell you can to get this thing right. Bull J 86, USF 27-21, Bucks 30-25. Lady Evil got the Bucks winning 23-17. Anybody guess what kind of soda I'm drinking? It's not American. Not American. What do you guys think? What kind of soda am I drinking? Bucks win 23-17. That's our guy, Lady Evil. Short and fast passes, get it out of the hands. And we're having the discussion about Hassan Reddick and his impact and watching more and more tape of what he was able to do and how much of a factor he was in week 1 against the Falcons. This is a guy that really did impact the game, maybe deeper than what you saw on the stat sheet. I mean, I know he did have that 1 sack, but Michael Penix gets the ball out of his hand quickly. I think that's the new thing in the National Football League. How often do you really see many offenses now let routes develop? It's get the ball out of their hands quick. Try to keep that pass rush off of you. Michael Penix is like that. We see that with Tua. We even see with Baker, right? So to have these teams out there and try to judge how good a pass rusher is doing just based solely on pressures and sacks, like it goes deeper than that. No Canada Dry, no pomegranates. It's a soda, but it's not of American variety. It's got a little Latin flair to it, if you guys know what I'm saying. But CJ Stroud, this could be one of those guys. When you have Nico Collins, you have some of these strong players on the outside. Could this be an opportunity for Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby to really put kind of their heads together and to be a force? Because the Buccaneers got to get home with 4. We've relied so much on no, not grape drank, no, not Fanta either. I said it's not American. Not American. Where's all my Latinos at? It would be nice in this game Monday night if the Buccaneers defense can pick up the slack for the offense. Because we saw that last year, and that's not usually a winning formula. I mean, the regular season, that could work. But once you get into the postseason, I think it was Micah Parsons said yesterday, is look at all these good quarterbacks that you see in the in the AFC, but just look, they're giving up all these points in the playoffs, and then what happens, right? So I'm with you, man. I'm still a big believer in that defense is such a big factor in whether these teams are going to win or not. And the Buccaneers for the last couple of years, it's anti-Bucks like offense picking up the slack for the defense. The defense is going to need to do the job Monday night. All right, let's bring him in. It's our good pal from Pro Football Focus, our pal Trevor Sikkema. What's going on, brother? How are you? Look at you, man.
It's good to be with you, Jay. I'm sorry that I'm not at my regular camera setup here. For whatever reason, technology is not my friend this morning. But we power through. That's why cameras exist on the phones. Had to make sure I talked a little ball with you. So I appreciate you having me, my friend.
Always appreciate you. And I'm wearing I was like, what am I going to wear today? And I was like, as a exalted Lightning fan as Trevor Sikkema is, I'm like, this is the perfect shirt for it today. 8 days away from preseason hockey. I always feel like October and November is like, that's when everything starts like really settling in for life. It's like football's here. We're in the mode. College football's going. Hockey's here. And it's like a USA from the Bad Boys movies. We're like, all right, we're good. We're cooking. I want to ask you real quick before we get into the football side, because you're a guy that's done such a great job in sports media. Our pal Ian Beckles, him and I were speaking about this on Wednesday. When you see something with like Peter Schrager and with Ryan Clark and that whole like player versus non-player thing, how I've really was cognizant over the years of like, I can't really speak from experience because I've never been inside an NFL locker room outside of our media coverage. But like yourself, how do you attack somebody like situations like that and covering the game? Because you do it such at a top-notch level, and you've done it for multiple entities now. So how do you kind of find that balance where you give your expertise, but you don't come off as like a guy that knows, like a Mr. Know-it-all kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is sort of a lesson I would give to everybody, and not that I'm perfect in this regard, and I certainly had to learn this along the way, but like, you just try to be real with the situation. Like, are you ever going to know the feeling of putting on the pads and the helmet, for the fourth quarter in a 2-minute drill of a playoff game? Like, no, obviously. And I think that the point is that for somebody who didn't play the game, as long as you're not approaching it from a way where you go, well, my opinion is better than yours because I have a different perspective, that's all it really is. Like, I think that, whether you played or whether you didn't, there are former players who, I mean, even people who played the game, maybe played the game in a way where they wish they would have played it a little bit different, or their method of attacking their position was not successful. Just because you played the game doesn't necessarily mean that you know exactly how everything goes at all times. All of that to say, the people who played the game have an incredibly valuable perspective because they did. And to me, that's what this is all. And that's why the situation was so disappointing, is because it can't, like, even though listening to RC say what he did, like, he didn't necessarily say it from a tone of disrespect, but obviously the sentiment and how he was saying was a little bit like, hey, I don't really acknowledge your perspective because you didn't play. And like, that's the stuff that sucks. Like, I fully know that I am not going to be able to give the perspective of somebody who played the game. I fully understand that. But that doesn't mean that the perspective that I have isn't valuable or could contain insight or have great conversations or like whatever it is. And so that's always the most disappointing thing. It's just any time, whether you played or you didn't, that you come off as not having respect for somebody who is respectfully having a conversation and a differing of opinion of whatever it is in football or any sport, to be honest. And so that's the most disappointing thing is you always want to be in tune with the reality of where you came from, what your expertise might be in a field, and then make sure that you are having that same sort of respect for anybody that you're having a sports conversation with. And sports are all about opinions and takes and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, you've got to be able to have respectful disagreements with people. And like, that was the most disappointing thing, that we didn't learn anything new. RC didn't take the blanket away from somebody and say like, whoa, oh, wait a second, Peter Schrager never played. It's not like it was breaking news or anything. It was just the way that it was said in the conversation that was disappointing. And obviously RC apologized about it and said that he wished that he would have gone about it a different way. But I think that I would just want that for any conversation, whether it's somebody who played or somebody who didn't.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think you got to consider, like, Peter Schrager's a really good guy. And I look back at his final episode on Good Morning Football on the NFL Network and Kyle Brandt and all the great things that he said about him and the kind of human being he is. And like, you got to consider the source too. If you go in there, like, with bells on and you're Chris Mad Dog Russo, maybe you're having that a little bit different. But when you're Peter Schrager and you're coming at it with a much more congenial and kind tone, I just think you got to consider the source as well. What do you think about our Bucs after week 1, man? I mean, a nice win over Atlanta. I don't think, especially after losing 2 games to them last year, regardless if it wasn't a Picasso, like I said, a win is a win. And I'm sure you agree with that one.
Yeah, I mean, not only is a win in the NFL, but a divisional win on the road. I mean, like, you take those any way that you possibly can. And, when you look at Baker's Day, just to start with the quarterback, because you always have to, he had some incredible throws in this game. Now, he also had some throws that the Falcons could have made him pay for that they didn't in every instance where he had necessarily a turnover-worthy situation. And so I think it was the Falcons, not capitalizing on some of the Baker Mayfield mistakes or just the higher risk throws that he had there. But you got to commend him for certainly some of the big touchdown throws that he had. The 2 to Emeka Egbuka, I think, were fantastic. And, it's not always going to look pretty. I mean, this is a day where very clearly they weren't getting anything on the ground. They had a makeshift offensive line. Obviously, they're down some of their pass-catching playmakers as well, but they find a way to get it done. I was really impressed with Michael Penix as well. I think that he is going to be a really good quarterback for the Falcons. And to be honest with you, I just don't think this Falcons defensive line and the youth specifically, with Ruccaroro being a second-year guy, with James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker being first-year guys, Braylon Trice is out there, but he missed time due to injury. Brandon Dorlus, just a second-year guy. Like, it's such a young defensive line, and I would say just overall front with the Falcons. To me, they just weren't able to take advantage of a makeshift Buccaneers offensive line the way that you would have needed to for them to really slow down the offense. On the defensive side of the football, obviously, it was great to see Antoine Winfield Jr. back making a game-saving play. I mean, that's obviously very huge for this team. I thought the corners played well. The big area of concern was Savasi Dennis in coverage. Like, I thought that he was really good in run defense. He was really great between the tackles. But look, Bijan's a tough assignment for any linebacker. I'm not going to say that, like, you know, he should have really contained him better, but it's just it felt like the angles to the football, how he was covering Robinson, even if you were saying, hey, Robinson's going to get his, the way that he sort of attacked and tried to cover him and the pursuit angles that he had led to Robinson having a ton of yards after the catch and everything. So that's got to be better, because this was one of the worst teams in the NFL when it came to covering over the middle of the field and that linebacker level, those linebacker coverage responsibilities last season. And that was a big area that we talked about in the offseason of, hey, that's got to be a lot better. And Dennis was sort of seen and talked about as the, hey, the cavalry is coming kind of a thing, with him missing all but 4 games last season. So it was a tough start in coverage for him, but you also have to recognize that it was one of the tougher assignments that he's going to face all year. So you hope that he just goes back to the film and he's better for it.
Luke Gedeke missed practice for a second straight day today, and it looks like Charlie Heck, who, we were thinking, hey, what the heck? He's going to be out there for a couple of games for Tristan Wirfs, and then he'll come. Oh, no. That's not what happened. You're kicking your first round pick from 23 out to left tackle. I'm like, the Bucs better know what the hell they're doing, man. And it worked. I mean, for the most part, like, you know, it's, again, we're not looking at the Cowboys offensive line from 95 here, but listen, they held down the fort. My level of concern, I not many times can you really put outside the quarterback, you know, obviously, but if Luke Gedeke doesn't play, I think it's going to be an awful uphill climb Monday night against the Texans, just because you know what you're going up against with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. And it's tough if you have all 5 of you guys, Trevor.
Yes.
What kind of matchup is that going to be like for the Buccaneers, especially if Luke Gedeke can't go?
I mean, it's a game defining matchup. There's no question about it. And I mean, Charlie Heck was struggling throughout training camp in the preseason to the point where, like you said, like they took their starting center and kicked him out to left tackle, and they had to switch things around. And now you're saying, okay, well, not only are we going to do that, now we got to worry about the right side of the offensive line as well. That's tough, because this is one of the best edge rush duos in the NFL. I think that Will Anderson Jr. is going to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year when it's all said and done. He was my pick. I think it's either him or Jared Verse, to be honest with you, of who I think is going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. And, you know, the Texans are obviously going to be, they're licking their wounds after facing the Los Angeles Rams and only scoring 9 points. And I think they only gave up 14 points and they still lost this game. But, you know, that team's going to come out on fire again. They do not in any way, shape, or form want to start this season 0-2. Obviously, it's in their house as well. So it's going to be, it's going to be a tough assignment. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this is a situation where, who was it? Justin School last year gave up 4 sacks against Hutchinson in week 2. Right. I think when they played the Detroit Lions. And if you remember, they still won that game. Right. So that ended up being a catastrophic matchup for them, but they still were able to win. However, if you have one of those on one side and one of those on the other, I mean, with all due respect to sort of like how Graham Barton was able to handle things at left tackle, I went back and I watched that game, and there were multiple instances where James Pierce Jr. was able to get by him. He just wasn't able to get by him quickly enough. Right. Will Anderson Jr. will be, and Danielle Hunter will be. I mean, those guys are phenomenal at their craft. And so if Graham Barton in any way, like the arm length or the foot speed or whatever it is, he can't protect both shoulders, because that's what you have to do when you're playing offensive tackle. You better believe that these guys are going to go after him. And you better believe that they're taking a look at the film that they had last week and they're seeing wherever his deficiencies are. And I think that is something to worry about, especially if, okay, one side you might be able to make up for it, right? Bucky Irving could stay on that side to block. You could have a tight end on that side. It starts getting really worrisome if you have 2 offensive tackles that you can't really depend on going up against 2 of the best edge rushers in the NFL, maybe the best edge rushing duo in the NFL. So there's no question about it. If Luke Gedeke can't go, this is going to be a major pain point for this team to get a win on the road on Monday night.
Yeah, Grant Barton, my guy. I know you play left tackle at Duke, but you ain't going up against the Virginia Cavaliers, my friend. This is a different ball game altogether. Where are we at on Caleb Williams? I know it's a little random, but I feel like I've been talking about him so much this week. I just when I watch him play, I'm just waiting for like, okay, like he's going to be able to put 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 an entire game. But then there's just some of these throws. And as a guy that grew up a Giants fan and has been following the Bucs for the last 2 decades, like I see my fair share of poor throws from Kent Graham and Dave Brown to Daniel Jones, and at times Jameis Winston throwing the ball to oblivion. But what do you see from Caleb Williams? He's got there's no excuses. You got Ben, you got investments in the offensive line and the wideouts, the running back, the defense. Like, there's no excuse for a guy in year 2. What do you see from Ben? What do you see from Caleb? And do you think he can grow into a damn good quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, I think that Caleb certainly struggled last week, and he just the way that he saw the field wasn't as precise as it needed to be. But I'll tell you, it was game 1 for a lot of people on that offense, specifically Ben Johnson. I don't think that he had his best game when it came to play calling and scheming guys open. I think he's still figuring it out with this cast. I would say that the offensive line, for as much as it was highly touted, right? I mean, you're bringing them some heavy hitters: Jonah Jackson, Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman. Like, obviously, it's a good offensive line in theory, but I think we still have to use that word in theory. They're still trying to figure it out, and they were not as stout as we thought they might be in game 1. So it wasn't just Caleb that was the reason why that offense really stalled, but he was also part of the issue, and he needs to be better. So I think that he just has to. I think that in that first drive, he was really confident. The ball was coming out of his hand quickly. And even when he was scrambling on the run, it was sort of that vintage USC, Oklahoma, when he was with Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, and it looked good. And when defenses adjust to you, when Brian Flores, who's one of the best in the business, is adjusting to you in the second half, like you better be able to counterpunch. Because that's the thing. I mean, like I know there's a clip of Brady going around when he was on Colin Cowherd's show. I think it was earlier this week. And he's just talking about development at the quarterback position and having all the answers for the test and everything. And I mean, he's talked about that when he was at the quarterback for the Buccaneers. He's like, when we were in the Super Bowl, he's like, I felt like I knew everything that the Chiefs were going to do. He's like, I had all the answers to the test. It's now just a matter of throwing the ball. I think that Caleb Williams has the initial answers right now with Ben Johnson, but when things change, when adjustments are made, I don't know if he has those answers. And though that's when you really get a quarterback who's really good in the NFL consistently. And I just don't think that Caleb is there yet. So look, they're not going to replace him, right? I mean, like, he's going to get the full year. So whether or not we think he's the guy right now, it doesn't really matter. He's at least going to get this full year. And I would assume that he's probably going to get the next year after that, because obviously it's Caleb Williams and the leash is going to be that long unless he just goes catastrophic with it. But it'll be interesting to see how they adjust moving forward. And if we start running out of excuses, like if the offensive line starts playing better, if Ben Johnson really starts scheming guys up a little bit better like he was when he was in Detroit, do we start to point the finger at Caleb a little bit more? Will be interesting to see.
Staying in the NFC North, I don't know if it's because of the Netflix documentary a couple of years ago and just the way he speaks to people, but I'm one of the biggest Kevin O'Connell fans I think there is. I love his disposition. I love that now it's like, I know it's JJ McCarthy, and again, his first start with Minnesota, but it's like Cousins, Darnold, playing 14 games last year, you didn't even win the division. And now you're another, like, you help shepherd this kid, and like, hey, the beginning's going to be rough, but just like putting him in a position to be successful. I mean, where does Kevin O'Connell rank in play callers? I think I might have him at number 3 right now, brother. Reed's got to be number 1, right? I think it's tough to go against Sean McVay. I know some people say Mike McDaniel, some other, but like Kevin O'Connell with different quarterbacks in tough environments, like, he's one of my favorite play callers. What say you?
Yeah, in my opinion, he's right now top three, no question. And some people might say, "Whoa, hold on, it was just 1 year last year. It's early with McCarthy." I understand that, but I don't know how you look at what he's done over the last calendar year and think that he'd be anything less than top three. I picked the Minnesota Vikings to go to the Super Bowl this year. I got Ravens
Wow.
versus the Vikings, and so I'm obviously big on the Vikings. And the reason why is because this year, when I was doing my predictions and everything, I'm leaning more into just coaching matters so much. We talk about the players, we talk about the roster, we talk about all that kinds of stuff. But this is generally the same exact coaching staff that won 14 games last year. I think people just like say that and we're getting numb to it. They won 14 games. 14 out of 17 games. That's crazy. Crazy
Right.
talk in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone when you bring in the context of what the interior offensive line was, which was bad, the interior defensive line, which was bad, and they had Sam Darnold, who was basically just a throwaway quarterback at that point in his career. They won 14 games. What are you telling me? Like, oh yeah, they got a young quarterback in there. Okay, and they improved their two biggest weaknesses on the roster on the interior and offensive and defensive lines with some heavy hitters. As long as JJ McCarthy is just okay, this team is making the playoffs. So I am a big coaching matters guy when it comes to my predictions. And I have a ton of respect for Kevin O'Connell, obviously picking him to go to the Super Bowl. Now, are they going to get at that point with JJ McCarthy in his first year? Who knows? It's really, when you get to those sort of predictions, the margins for error, like, they'll eventually play the Eagles probably in the playoffs if they're getting to that point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, it sure looks like they'll probably play the Packers. They'll play the Packers twice in the regular season, but they'll probably have to go through or against Green Bay at some point in time when it comes to the postseason as well. So are they going to beat both the Packers and the Eagles probably back to back to get to the Super Bowl? I don't know. But they're going to be, but in my opinion, they're going to be in that conversation. And the reason why they're going to be in that conversation is Kevin O'Connell and it's Brian Flores. And that is one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL right now. And I got a ton of faith in them.
Number two combo behind Andy Reid and Spagnuolo. Probably right.
Probably.
Not taking away from the DC in LA. His name escapes me right now, but I mean they got to be. I think it's the best tandem outside of Andy Reid and Spagnuolo, and it's resume only, right?
I think that those would be the 1-2. Like in theory, potential. Ben Johnson as the head coach and offensive play caller for Chicago, and then Dennis Allen as their defensive coordinator is awesome. Like I think that could be one hell of a coaching staff as well. But I wouldn't put them over either of those two for sure. So to me, that is the 1 and 2 right now.
All right, last one out of me, man. What's the deal with Jackson Dart and the Giants? Do you think how early does he start? And then kind of part two to that question, does Dable have his job longer than Mike McDaniel in Miami? Because there's talent on both those rosters, man, and they seem to be two ships heading in the wrong direction.
Well, I'll just start by saying I watched the Dolphins film from last week, and I would be shocked if McDaniel's not the first head coach fired. And I think that it's going to come. Like if they lose this weekend and they look anything close to what they did against Indianapolis, which was a team that looked like they did not care. I never do this. I never question effort. I hate like questioning players like work ethic or anything, because again, like going back to the very first thing that we said, I didn't play in the league. So I feel like I really don't have much ground to say that. But I can tell you what I've seen from Bradley Chubb in the past, what I've seen from Chop Robinson in the past, Jalen Phillips, all of those dudes. I've seen them play in the past.
Right.
They didn't care against the Colts. Or at least they didn't care. They weren't anywhere close to the standard that they had been in years past. And that's a coaching thing, in my opinion. You see the issues with Tua, you see the issues with Tyreek Hill, all the kinds of stuff. I think McDaniel's the first coach fired. So all that to get back to the Giants. I think the Giants did a really nice job trying to get more explosive on offense. They now have the receivers with Jalen Hyatt and Darius Slayton and Malik Neighbors and even guys underneath like Wan'Dale Robinson. Theo Johnson, I think, is a vertical stretching tight end for them that they can go to. Tyrone Tracy out of the backfield is a great receiver and an explosive one at that. They have three quarterbacks who have the same sort of quarterback DNA of they want to throw the ball deep. Russell Wilson wants to throw deep. Jameis Winston wants to throw deep. Jackson Dart wants to throw deep. The problem is, Jay, they don't have the offensive line to run that. They want to be a vertical passing team, and they don't have the offensive line to do it. And I don't know exactly when Jackson Dart starts, because if it was just a Russell Wilson thing, I would tell you that he'd probably be starting by week 6. But the issue becomes, if they believe that it's offensive line rooted their struggles, well, who cares who's back there? And do you want to throw a rookie back there? It's almost like if you think the offensive line is the issue, you're better off throwing Jameis out there because Jameis is nuts. Like Jameis will take the pressure and shrug off of it and run to the sideline and chuck it 40 yards across the field on the other hash mark. Like he'll do that. Russell Wilson's not going to do that for you. And I don't know if Jackson Dart's the right thing either. But if this team starts 1-4, yeah, they're going to throw Jackson Dart out there because they have no other choice. Because Dable will be like, okay, well, I'm fired anyways, so I might as well just try to save the sinking ship. So that's the biggest issue with the Giants is I actually like the things that they have done on offense, and I feel like they're bringing themselves an identity. But if the offensive line can't block for 3 seconds, you can't get the vertical passing game going. So it's kind of tough. We'll have to see how they are over the next 3 to 4 weeks of trying to establish that.
Such a weird team because they have arguably the best defensive line in the game. They hit on a lot of their draft picks last year. There's some decent players, linebackers. Their back 6 to 7 guys look good, but it's just it all comes down to that offensive line. I feel like Jameis would be great, like an NFL street player back in the day, where you can like jump off the side of the wall, step on an offensive lineman's back. Like Jameis is one of the most. Yeah, I can't wait for his second career. It's going to be fantastic.
He'd do that anyways. Like even like in an NFL game, he'd do that stuff anyways.
He's amazing. Just like you, my friend, Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus. Thank you for making my show a whole hell of a lot better. Always great to catch up with you, my man. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
I appreciate it, Jay. Keep killing it, my friend.
Thanks, buddy. The best. And I've been telling you guys this for years, but I think one of the most talented people in our entire industry, the one and only Trevor Sikkema at Tampa Bay Trey. Pro Football Focus. He is the best. Love that guy. All right, let's get into it. A couple more minutes to go. Which of the 0-1 teams are going to go 1-0? Excuse me. Which of the 0-1 teams are going to win? Which of the 1-0 teams are going to lose? And I'm going to start with teams. Hold on, as I have the up top on here. I think first up, Jacksonville. They're 1-0. They're going into Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. I think they lose that game. Cincinnati needed a fast start. Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they needed to start. They didn't play the greatest game in week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. It's a divisional matchup. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Go get you a dub and get the hell out of there. Speaking of Cleveland, they go into Baltimore to take on the Ravens. You want to talk about an 0-1 team that's going to get a win? That's the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco playing against his former team. Lamar Jackson looking to right the ship. That's an easy call for me right there. Another 0-1 team that I think is going to win, I think New England. In an 0-1 matchup against the Miami Dolphins, I think New England, even though they're on the road, I'm with Trevor. Watching some of that game, it shouldn't have been that big of a mismatch. It shouldn't have been that different. But it was bad. It was really, really tough to watch that game. And if you're a Dolphins fan, I mean, God bless you. Another 0-1 team that's going to win, Dallas. Dallas at home against the Giants. Dak Prescott hasn't lost to the Giants, I think, since 2016. Is that right? Home Atlanta. That is wild to me. Another 0-1 team that's going to win. I think Detroit wins at home against the Chicago Bears as they take on another team that's 0-1. 1-0 team that's going to lose, the Indianapolis Colts. I think they lose in that home matchup with the Denver Broncos. Everything looked good. Smooth sailing for those guys. No problem at all. But you're playing Denver and a much better defense in week 2 than you saw in week 1. And then finally, I'm going to go with the Chiefs to get off the schneid Chiefs and to be able to win that game against Philly. Oh, yeah, the other Monday night matchup because the Bucks play at 7. Raiders 1-0, Chargers 1-0. I'm going to go with the Chargers on the road. Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh doing the job right there. What do we got coming up this weekend? Some of the big matches, some of the big games this weekend. It starts actually today, 2:30, a really good tilt on ESPN2. By Leverkusen against Eintracht Frankfurt. Leverkusen already with a new coach, a new manager, as Eric Ten Hag, former United skipper, has gotten let go after 2 games. That's not surprising there. Let's see what else we got coming up this weekend. Saturday for our guys there. come on, USL Championship. We've got the Tampa Bay Rowdies hosting the Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC at Al Lang, 7:30 start there. We also have our Tampa Bay Sun not playing this weekend. I'm going to have to look in that as well. Premier League action, they're back. Any of the big games here? Chelsea, Brentford, West Ham, Tottenham. Sunday's the big one. The Manchester Derby at 11:30 at the Etihad. There in Manchester. City against United. That's going to be a badass match right there. You're not going to want to miss that one. And for the last couple of years, even though United has not been the same, one thing that they've been able to do is somehow, some way, take it to City. So we'll see if they're going to be able to do the same thing this weekend. And it's just not the same thing with Man City. Really not. Who's Grimsby played? Too soon, my friend. Too soon. Also, the big soccer. The big boxing matchup, Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Bud Crawford. I just think Crawford's not big enough, man. He's just not big enough. I can't give it to him. I can't give it to him. I think he's an incredible boxer. He's so sleek. And, his footwork is amazing. And I just love how he can switch from, orthodox to southpaw and keep these guys guessing. But you're dealing with just a bigger, stronger guy. It's awfully tough for me to think that that's going to go in his favor. Yankees, Red Sox this weekend. If you want to just hate your TV, you want to hate your TV, that's the way to do it. Watch those guys. College football matchups, Indiana State tonight at 6:30. Big Beck is going to be keeping an eye on that. Can Kansas State avoid going 0-3? They go to Arizona to take on Noah Fifita and the Wildcats tonight at 9 o'clock. And then you have to kind of go down a little bit when it comes to the schedule and look at Georgia and Tennessee. I was on with Pat and Aaron today. I think Georgia goes in to Neyland there and wins that game over the Volunteers. I've been really impressed with what Joey Aguilar has done since Nico Iamaleava left. But Gunnar Stockton and Georgia, I just think they're better in the trenches, and their game travels. They're 3.5-point favorites in that one. I'm going to ride with them. Also, obviously, USF Miami. I think USF covers. I think it's going to be a close game. No doubts. And then there was Texas A&M and Notre Dame. I like Notre Dame in this game. Marcus Freeman has done such a good job over the last couple of years, even if there's some early season struggles, being able to come back and to be able to win that game. Being able to come back throughout the season and be able to give yourselves a chance to be good at the end of the season. So I'm with that big time. Dolphins lose. Mike Daniels is on that. Miami crack pipe into it is broken. There we go. Let's see. David Terry took Tennessee with the upset. The over on Colorado and Houston. How bad does LSU beat Florida? There's the upset. I think Florida wins that game. Somehow, some way, and that's what we want for USF. We want that one, buddy. How much better would that win look for USF if they were able to win that one? I don't know, but it's exciting to be able to know the football's back in action. Hockey is right around the corner. We got a big boxing matchup. Soccer's underway for next month before another international break, but it's an exciting time to be alive, baby. Greg says, no way. What am I drinking? That's what I'm drinking. Nobody guessed it. Colombiana. That is the type of soda that I was drinking. Colombiana. I'll be on the baseball field this weekend. It's going to be hot, even if it's not going to be as hot as it has been. It's always hot as hell on the baseball field. But yeah, I think Florida's going to win this game somehow, some way. College football's crazy like that, man. It really is. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. I got to roll. I got things to do. I got some errands to run. We'll be here on Monday talking about the weekend and, of course, previewing the big matchup between the Buccaneers and the Texans. Ooh, that is going to be awesome. Big thank you to Trevor Sikkema for joining us. Pro Football Focus at Tampa Bay Trade. Go follow him there. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Honest Hammer, Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. Scan that QR code. Tell them that you heard it right here on the J Recher podcast. We already had somebody last week that was looking to get some renovations done. And then, boom, he called Hammer right in the middle of the show. Really, really appreciative of that. If you know somebody, guys, in these kitchen, bathroom renovations, a new home build, That's my guys. Give them a shout. 813-244-0956. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast, and you will get a discount. No, it's not Chorritos. No, it's not Fresca. It's Colombiana. Go look it up. The bottle is like this big. Go look at it in Publix or it's everywhere. Colombiana. Check it out. It tastes kind of like a cream soda. I'm not a big soda guy anymore, but if I do, I drink that. I love you all. Again, thank you to Trevor Sikkema, Honest Hammer. You guys are the best. What a great week of shows. We'll be back on Monday at noon right here on the Jay Recher podcast. I'm going. Oh, wait. I forgot to mention him. Our guy, Shane. Thank you, my brother. $5. Vikings in the Super Bowl. Super hot take. Yeah, you got that. But not as hot for me because I really, really appreciate a guy like Kevin O'Donnell, I think. Or Kevin O'Connell. He's the man. Huge fan of him. But thank you so much for the super chat. $5 from our guy, Chan. $10 from our guy, David Terry. I could not do this without you guys. I love you all. Everybody have a safe, a happy, a healthy weekend. And again, let's treat each other better, man. Be kind. Be kind to each other, man. Life is short. There's way more things that we have in common than we don't. Let's just try to live a better life and leave this world a better place than we found it. I love you all. See you on Monday at noon right here on the Jay Recher podcast. I'm going. Peace out.